one of the options that we have within our security settings within Appdome is the ability for the brand to specify trusted accessibility tools. Right. So if somebody goes and gets an accessibility tool that is not allowed to be used with that app, the app will say, you can't use that specific accessibility tool. Here's the one we recommend. And it will be a trusted accessibility tool.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a Kaka Computer episode on the field. And today we have Appdome, Chris, as our guest.
Hi, everybody.
And Chris, maybe you can, we're here at Cybersec Philippines.
Correct.
Right? And yesterday you gave a talk. Could you just give us a summary of your talk yesterday?
Yeah, we talked about a couple of really interesting things yesterday. One is how AI is really changing the landscape of cybersecurity for mobile apps, and how the changing landscape of Trojans and malware are really making it much more difficult for brands to protect their mobile apps with just one layer of defense. And it's really important to use multiple layers of defense in order to protect themselves in today's, highly, for lack of a better way to put it, highly offensive cyber criminal activity that's going on in the Philippines and in other parts of the world.
Right. And just to give context, so that we have an idea of the radius of impact or maybe the financial impact. Now, we've heard that this is actually more like in the billions or even trillions. Is that what you see also in the Philippines?
Yeah, in the Philippines, we've seen statistics that it's in the billions of dollars in terms of fraudulent activity that's going on. And I think one of the positive things that's been happening in the Philippines economy and within the government is that there's been moves with the regulations like AFASA to be able to put some teeth into helping consumers by putting tighter regulations on organizations to help fight and stop fraudulent activities. And I think some of those activities are actually starting to work.
Right. And that's an interesting take now, because it's always about who is responsible for the security itself, right? Is it the end user? Is it the app or the provider? Sometimes we even ask, is it the telco or the internet provider, right?
Yeah.
Let's go to the user side first, right?
Okay.
So as users, there is some sort of expectation that we protect ourselves, but at the same time, we also rely on the apps to have some sort of security in place, right?
Yeah. Well, so I've been at Appdome for 10 years.
Yes.
Okay. So, and the thing that I've seen happen years and years ago is that consumers like you and me, we are outgunned when it comes to protecting ourselves from cyber criminal activity. There's just no way you and I can protect ourselves. So for anybody to say, hey, consumer, this is on you, that is not happening. Right. And you can't say it's a telco. You can't even put it on Apple or Google, because they can only provide the most basic layer of security that has to apply to all apps, all the millions of apps that are out there. Right. So really it does boil down to the brand in order to provide the protections that are needed for the use cases and the features that they provide to consumer. That's where the action is. And that's where the protections need to go.
And maybe you can give some examples of this, what a brand should do to at least enhance the layer of security.
This is maybe I've been in Appdome too long.
Yes.
It's a very evolving challenge.
Yes.
Right. Because it's
always a race, right?
Well, it's not only a race, it's how do you want to solve the problem, right? You can solve the problem in the app. You can solve it in the network, right? If you use a web application firewall, you can implement controls in the network. Or if you want to solve it within the fraud system, you can send signals to your fraud system and solve it there, right? And so one of the things that, as we've evolved our business, is been able to give our brands choice. How do you want to solve this problem? Where do you want to solve this problem? And we allow our customers to mix and match these things. I know that's kind of a high level, and I want to start at kind of the high level first. At the next layer down, it becomes about being able to understand, what are the use cases that you're solving for, right? Do you have transactions in the app? Right. Obviously, you're going to want to protect those critical workflows. You're going to want to be able to potentially intercept workflows. So take for example, phishing.
Okay, phishing.
Which is a combination of a phone call and a remote desktop connection in order to scam somebody into giving account information, right? In that sort of scenario, there's two use cases there.
And we're talking about remote phishing, right? Where it's a takeover of the device itself.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Now, in that scenario, when the phone call starts and somebody's using the app, this is the first signal that happens. You get a phone call, human opens up the banking app. This telemetry information is the first two sets of signals that says this could be a phishing attack. Okay, this telemetry information can be sent into a fraud system. Okay, this is a moment, right? This is a critical moment. So in this critical moment, you have two use cases. Could be a bad human.
Yes, bad actor. Yeah.
It could be my daughter asking for $100. Right. So in that moment, you can break the chain of social engineering. So when we work with mobile brands, the first thing that we recommend is that they pop up a message that says, please know that as a financial institution, we would never call and ask you to open up your app and provide any information and then just click an OK button. So you basically send information that breaks this chain of the hurriedness, the social engineering aspect of it before the remote session happens. Right. In other words, try to intercept the social engineering attack before it gets too far. Right? So there are all these sort of very specialized use cases within fraud that can really, really, really help the brand and help the consumer at the same time. Right? So it's the responsibility of the brand, but they can actually help the consumer and break that activity. Right? So it's about being proactive, preemptive, and all those sorts of things. And there are use cases all around these types of scenarios. And it really takes the creativity of working closely with these brands to work through the use cases, right? Because going back 10 years ago, the answer was something bad happens, close the app, don't let the consumer continue to use the app.
Yeah, I was actually thinking the same thing. Like, for example, is it better to just disallow multitasking in that sense, right? When you open the app, you don't allow it as long as there's a call incoming, right? So that at least, like you said, breaks the chain. So it's a convenience versus security scenario that I'm presenting, right?
Yeah, but the challenge there is that product managers, the product manager, the brand owner, he or she is paid to maintain eyeballs in that app. So if cyber professionals, if all they do is close the app and kick out the eyeballs, they do not make any friends with product managers. And that we learned that lesson 9 years ago. Right? So you have to be able to work creatively because it's the successful mobile app organization is an equal team amongst the product team, the cyber team, and the development team. And they all have to come together and solve for these scenarios, right? And the product people are going to say, hey, wait a minute, you can't lock out my people, right? Another scenario, right? Another phishing scenario or any sort of fraudulent scenario is we have, whenever a fraud signal comes in, is we've had other organizations put the app into a read-only mode. No transactions can happen.
Okay.
Right? Another one.
That could be a good example, yeah.
Right. Rate limit transaction.
Of course.
Right? You can only move $100.
Yes. I think.
Right? So there are all these, you take these signals and take these actions, and you can be very creative about how you want to protect your consumer. Right? And so I think there's, and the big challenge or the change, right, is if you look back over time, a lot of these attacks took very specialized tools, and within the last 2-3 years, a lot of these tools are now embedded in apps that are available in the App Store that are advertised for different purposes. Right, and this was part of if you saw the presentation, my colleague from our security research organization, Joab, talked about, which is they can embed these hacking tools in App Store apps, and basically they say, oh, okay, well this is an app that will help improve the performance of your Android phone. People unwittingly download it.
Maybe like memory boosters or like background cleaners. That's what they say.
Exactly, right? And what they do is that they'll launch spyware, they'll launch key logging, and the key loggers will report back to a server and basically have your credentials to get your bank account, right? And so with these tools, users are unsuspecting, right? And so with this new challenge, you've got to be able to work with the consumer who's unsuspectingly adding these tools, right? So the other piece of this is how do you help them get rid of these elements in their phone when something bad happens, right? So we have one area is accessibility options, right? So accessibility tools are used by persons with disability, right? Or even just if you have for sight and for screen reading and stuff like that. And accessibility tools are used pretty widely by hackers.
Yes, because it overlaps the app itself. It's like a external keyboard overlays. Yes,
exactly. And but what you have to allow accessibility tools, right? So one of the options that we have within our security settings within Appdome is the ability for the brand to specify trusted accessibility tools, right? So if somebody goes and gets an accessibility tool that is not allowed to be used with that app, the app will say, you can't use that specific accessibility tool. Here's the one we recommend. And it will be a trusted accessibility tool. So again, it denies access to that one, right? Because it could be suspicious. But again, enables the user to say, use this one because this is trusted by us as your mobile banking brand or whatever, right? Again, all about enabling the use and continued use of the app in a safe way.
Defeat fraudsters, scams, and bots in one. Automate the work out of protecting your mobile business. Use AI to build and maintain 400+ mobile app security, anti-fraud, and bot defenses in Android and iOS apps fast. Monitor defenses and preempt app, API, and identity attacks in real time. No code, no SDK. Just comprehensive mobile defense that works.
Now, let's localize it a little bit and look at BSP Circular 1213, which is, putting the security, enabling security in the app itself with biometrics, especially biometrics, right? We talked about a little bit about overlay. Now, how, like I said, with things like face apps, face recognition, thumbprint inside the app itself, to what level of security is that already enough? I mean, compared to, let's say, OTP SMS, right? That really is very
fair enough.
A fair comparison, right?
Yeah. Well, it's a next level, right? And it is on the path to better security. AI is making it more difficult to have 100% confidence in biometric authentication. We did a demonstration, a POC, I guess, of breaking face IDs.
Yes, face IDs
with a
with deep fakes.
With a $10 software.
With a $10 software.
And it took 20 minutes. Wow. And we used a picture of somebody from LinkedIn. So it was taking a LinkedIn picture of one of our employees using a $10 software tool to basically model it into a 3D image, and then using a commercially respectable face identification SDK. And it was bypassed. Wow. So the technology it's an arms race, right? So it is a race condition where it's a challenge because the ability to generate images is so simple, and I think this is an area where we're pouring a lot of investment from a security perspective into providing capabilities to ensure that facial recognition is safe and secure, because we can provide extra checks around it not only for obviously static images and
Livelihood,
liveness checks and all that, to make sure that none of that is falsified, fake apps. Working on voice cloning and a variety of other capabilities, because the importance of that biometric authentication is not going away. It just is. It is a new frontier that organizations are really trying to exploit. We've seen it in Latin America. We've seen that in the UK and here. So it's something that is, is becoming. Sadly, it's a new threat vector with a kind of a star next to it, because it's growing so quickly, unfortunately.
If we go back a little bit now, I wanted to ask this personally. This is a personal question for me. Why did we move from thumbprint biometrics to facial? Did we see an increase in attacks in thumbprint or fingerprint, and now we're moving towards
the theory was you had more data points
compared to the thumbprints?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
that was the theory.
That was the theory.
Right. So.
But do you think in the future we'll go back to maybe a combination? You have to use both.
I think that's what we're gonna see, something along those lines, right? Either that, or we'll see, the coming back of the thumbprint authentication coming back in a newer, better form. It's it's the whole AI attack vector has really just kind of thrown this part of security into a state of chaos, right? Even I don't know if you've seen or had experience with the voice cloning that's going on with people calling using voice clones of a relative.
Yes.
Right. The recommendation there is very simple, right? You have to either have a code word with a loved one, right? Like I have said to my kids, if you ever call in distress, I'm going to ask you
a code word.
Yeah, and it's the nickname that I had for my kids. There's each kid.
You don't have to say it.
I'm not going to say it, but they each had a nickname that they hated. That I called them that they hated that particular nickname, and that will be the thing that I'm going to ask them. Right. So you have to. I mean, look. This is where we are societally, and so from a not a real that time. Sorry for a little personal life aside, but if you look at where we are from a technology perspective, we've got to work through this problem. Right. And we're going to throw a lot of technology at it. Appdome is throwing a lot of engineering, brains, and resource at making sure that we can do our part to protect these capabilities. It is hard to figure out where that thing's going to land. Right. It is a ongoing challenge for us. Right.
Now, you as a cybersecurity professional, you obviously have some of these practice tricks. Like you said, you have a code for your family, but for a regular consumer like us, or maybe not us, but with other people, right? How worried should they be, or what is the level of threat that is really exposed to them? Should they practice these things, or should they actually demand more from the brand itself to trust the brand more? Or if it happens, then the brand should be really accountable, and everybody should take that stand in the sense like the app should be more responsible on these things.
The app should definitely be more responsible. And again, I actually like what's happening here in the Philippines. Mm-hmm. Right, there are very positive steps to go to the next level. Right, the whole kill switch. I mean, there are some really, really just amazing elements to a FASA. And is that all those? It's not the be all and end all, right? Because everything is evolving. And, technology will continue to evolve. The threat landscape will continue to evolve. But the fact that the government's putting pressure on brands is good. Now, I think it has to continue to spread into other industries, right? Transactions, you got to follow the transactional thing. And I think what our studies have shown, right? We do annual surveys of consumers around the world. We've done them here in the Philippines. You've seen that Filipinos will abandon brands that they don't feel that they're being protected. That is a strong signal, right? And that signal has to continue. We've seen that, sadly, consumers have either known somebody or have been a victim themselves of social engineering and those sorts of fraudulent attacks. And I think there's also a study here that corroborates our research, right? So we know that we're in the
Yes.
same zone. So steps in the right direction, right? That's a long answer to your short question. Keep pressure on the brains, right? And I think that is the way. And it's you vote with your use of the brain, because what's amazing about mobile apps is it is a vibrant economy. So if one brand isn't doing the thing that you want, there's probably 5 to 10 other choices, and you can vote with your thumb. Probably a bad analogy. You get my point. You could go to another brand.
Yeah.
Right.
It's switch brands. Actually, switching brands not that hard anymore. I
No,
would say.
it's not.
Even with banks, right? You can
Exactly.
easily open new bank accounts even without visiting the branch itself.
Yeah.
With digital banks, and even some of the banks offering that
Right.
as well already.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe to end a little bit, of course, we're in the age of agentic AI, and not just AI, agentic AI that runs 24/7 with millions of agents active out there, right?
Yeah.
What is your, maybe what is your experience with previously hackers? They're quite active, they run scripts, yes, but usually it's like a fixed set of patterns, right? Meaning, they run like maybe it's like a brute force kind of attack, because it's a script kiddie, all right? You're running like that. But with agentic AI, because they shift and respond very differently, right? Should we fear, or should we? What's your take on the changes that will happen because of agentic AI?
From a bad actor perspective, the threat, the polymorphic nature of threats, in other words, the ability for threats to change rapidly, is
Real time change, depending
Exactly.
on how you behave. Yeah.
correct. Is a little stagnant, and the reality of the situation is you have to, if you're going to win the battle against AI, you have to fight it with AI, right? And that's a two level thing, two-level answer, right? You have to use tools that are in the AI flow to be able to take on those threats. And there's an analysis element to this. If you think about some of the brands here in the Philippines, right, this is the density of use, right, amongst the population. Almost population of 95 million, 120 million, but the number of mobile phones exceeds the population.
Yes.
Right. That was the statistic I read.
Like 2 times or 3 times. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got this huge, mobile phone penetration rate, right? So think about mobile brands trying to crawl through all the data of attack data to figure out what to do next. And that's the other side of the coin, right? For mobile brands to use AI is to figure out how quickly can I understand what's happening in my mobile landscape to figure out what to do next to fight the AI threat. So you have to be able to understand what's happening in real time, and that's where we've planted an agentic AI stake in the ground there. But for SecOps to be able to in real time use an AI agent to say, here's what's going on, do this, without having to pay an analyst to go do that work. Present the answer, be able to answer free-form questions about what to do, how's it happening, answer all those types of questions so that a SecOps human can make the decisions. You go do all that nut work of figuring out what's in the data. I'm going to make the decision so I can make it quickly. What used to take a couple of weeks is now like an hour, right? So you can respond more quickly because the mobile app release cycle is very quick now.
Yes, correct.
So you can get new protections out really quickly and help yourself win that fight, right? So that's it's not just fighting AI with AI protections. You got to figure out how to get them out as quickly as possible. It's a two-part series.
All right. So that's it for us at the moment. Now, again, thank you for listening, and I hope you've at least become more aware that your mobile phone is also a attack surface, and you should really look at your apps, see which ones you trust, and especially those ones you trust that you hold them accountable, right? That they are really protecting you, and also protect yourself at the same time.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Very good talk.